colony had endured attacks, survived countless threats, and grown stronger with every challenge. Under Varella's guidance, the humans had learned to trust her instincts, follow her strategies, and see beyond appearances. She was no longer the ugly alien princess sent as a gift. She was a leader, a protector, and a symbol of hope for the settlement. But peace was fleeting. Scouts reported an immense alien fleet approaching, far larger and more organized than any enemy they had faced before. These were the forces of Voreth's enemies, determined not just to capture Varella, but to destroy the humans who had accepted her. Varella stood atop the observation tower with Yalan, her gaze sharp as she analyzed the fleet's movements. "Have learned from previous encounters," she said. "They are coordinated, precise, and relentless. This battle will decide not just our survival, but the future of this colony." Yolan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll face them together, Varella, just like we always have." Varella nodded, determination in her alien eyes. She had grown stronger, braver, and more confident than she had ever been. Understood that fear could not guide her strategy. Courage, unity were the only path to victory. She immediately began organizing the colony. Soldiers were positioned in layered defenses, civilians were guided into secure zones, and engineers fortified energy barriers. Varella shared her knowledge of alien technology with the humans, modifying weapons and shields to increase efficiency. Her understanding of strategy and perception allowed them to anticipate enemy movements, giving humans an edge against a seemingly unstoppable force. As the alien fleet closed in, Varella called the colonists together. "Today," she said, "we face an enemy unlike any before. They are strong, but so are we. Humans, you have courage, intelligence, and heart. Together, we can survive. Follow my instructions, and we will protect our home, our friends, and each other." Her words carried weight. Humans who had doubted her now saw her not as an outsider, but as a leader whose mind and courage were essential. Soldiers straightened. Civilians steadied themselves, and a sense of unity spread throughout the colony. The first wave of attackers struck just as the twin suns dipped below the horizon. Ships descended from the sky, alien creatures armed with advanced technology, attempting to breach the colony's defenses. Energy blasts lit the night, shaking walls and sending dust into the air. Varella coordinated every move. She directed human squads to weak points in the enemy formation, suggested maneuvers that combined human ingenuity with alien tactics, and led the counterattack when enemies tried to breach the walls. Yalan fought beside her, trusting her every instruction, amazed by her ability to remain calm and decisive amidst chaos. Hours passed, the battle intense and exhausting. The alien forces adapted constantly, testing humans at every turn, but Varella anticipated their strategies. She moved among the soldiers, giving encouragement, adjusting positions, and even personally intervening when a small group of invaders bypassed the defenses. "Focus," she shouted during a critical moment. "Use the traps and barriers." Then back. "Remember, fear is their weapon. We must remain calm and act together." Her voice inspired humans to fight harder. With her guidance, even inexperienced soldiers performed with precision, countering the alien attacks efficiently. Civilians assisted where they could, moving supplies, tending the wounded, and reinforcing barriers. As the night deepened, the humans began to gain the upper hand. Varella identified the enemy's command ship in the fleet and realized that disabling it could turn the tide. "Yalan," she called, pointing to the ship. "We must strike the command ship. Its destruction will disrupt their coordination." Yalan nodded. "I'll take a squad. We can do this together." Varella led him and a group of elite soldiers through a hidden path she had discovered in the terrain. They advanced under the cover of darkness, avoiding enemy patrols, and reached the command ship's landing zone. Varella's alien strength and agility allowed her to disable guards silently while the humans followed, ready for action. Inside, the command ship Varella analyzed its systems quickly. "The main power core is vulnerable," she said. "Precise strike will cause maximum disruption." She coordinated with Yolan and the squad, ensuring everyone knew their roles. The strike was executed flawlessly. Explosions rocked the ship, disabling communication arrays and engines. Alien forces outside were thrown into confusion, their attacks losing coordination. The humans seized the advantage, pressing forward with renewed determination. Back at the colony, the remaining alien forces retreated, unable to maintain their offensive. Humans cheered, exhausted, but victorious. Virella stood beside Yalin, her gaze scanning the horizon. She had once been cast aside, sent to humans as a burden, but now she had led them to triumph. The aftermath was filled with relief and gratitude. Colonists thanked her openly, children followed her with admiration, and soldiers sought her guidance for training and strategy. Virella, though humble, recognized the moment as a turning point. She had proven her worth not through appearance or title, but through courage, intelligence, and leadership. Jalen approached her as the celebrations quieted. "You've done more than survive," he said. "You've changed this place. You've shown them what it means to be strong, to act with courage, and to trust in one another. You're a hero, Virella." She shook her head, a soft smile on her lips. "We are heroes, all of us. Humans and alien alike. Without unity, we could not have achieved this." The colony began to rebuild stronger than ever. Virella continued to teach, guide, and protect, ensuring that humans were prepared for any future threats. Her influence was now fully accepted, her intelligence respected, and her courage admired. Even with the threat defeated, Virella thought of her father. King Vorath had cast her aside, judging her for what she was not, rather than seeing what she could become. Here, among humans, she had found acceptance, respect, and purpose. She realized that true worth was not determined by the opinions of others, but by actions, heart, and the ability to inspire courage in those around her. One evening, as she stood on the colony wall with Yalin, watching the twin moons rise, she spoke softly. "I was sent as a gift, something to be discarded. Yet I have found a place where I am valued, where I can protect and lead. I have learned what it means to belong." Yalin looked at her admiration and pride in his eyes. "You've proven that appearances do not define us. Intelligence and heart do. You've shown everyone. Hear the truth, and you've shown me too." Virella smiled, feeling a warmth she had never known. She was no longer just a castaway or a burden. She was a protector, a strategist, and a hero. The humans no longer saw her as ugly or strange. They saw her as extraordinary. Days turned into weeks. Humans and Virella worked together, building new systems, improving life, and preparing for any challenges that might arise. Children learned from her, soldiers respected her, and civilians followed her guidance without hesitation. Virella knew that challenges would continue, that threats from Vorath's enemies or other dangers could return. But she also knew that with humans who trusted her and Yalin by her side, they could overcome anything. Her journey from an unwanted princess to a respected leader was complete. But her story as a hero, teacher, and protector was just beginning. In the quiet of night, she reflected on her path. She had arrived as a gift, sent to humans as a burden, judged by appearance, and underestimated by all. Yet through courage, intelligence, and determination, she had found purpose, earned respect, created bonds that transcended species. Jalen joined her silently, placing a hand on hers. "You've done more than survive," he said quietly. "You've changed everything here. You belong, Virella. And so do I." Virella looked at him, her alien eyes reflecting the light of the moons. As for the first time, she felt completely at peace. She had found a place where she mattered, a place where she could make a difference, and a people who accepted her for who she truly was. The story of Princess Virella among humans reached its first great conclusion. She had transformed from a castaway into a leader, a protector, and a hero. Humans and aliens alike had learned the power of unity, courage, and heart. And though new challenges would inevitably arise, Virella knew that together they could face anything the universe sent their way. The stars above shone like distant witnesses to her journey, a Reminder that even those cast aside could rise. Not through appearances or titles, but through courage, wisdom, and the bonds they forged along the way. And in that quiet moment, Varela understood the truth that had taken her so long to discover. She was no longer a gift, no longer a burden, and no longer just a princess. She was a hero, a protector, and a symbol of hope for humans, aliens, and all who dared to believe in the power of courage and unity. Her journey was far from over, but she had already proven one undeniable fact: no matter where one comes from, no matter what the past holds, anyone can rise to greatness when they act with heart, intelligence, and bravery. Princess Varela's story, once defined by rejection, was now defined by triumph. And the humans who had once feared her now stood beside her as allies, friends, and fellow heroes, ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them next. Life in the human colony moved slowly at first, but every day brought new challenges for Princess Varela. She had arrived as a stranger, judged for her strange appearance and foreign ways, and she now had to navigate a society that was cautious, curious, and sometimes cruel. The colonists whispered behind her back, stared openly at her patterns and mottled skin. Some even avoided her entirely. Captain Yalin remained her steadfast companion and protector. He had grown used to the curious stares, the awkward silence, and even the occasional insults that Varela endured. He understood that her survival depended not just on keeping her physically safe, but also on helping her adapt to a society that would never fully understand her. "You're not like them," he said one morning as they walked through the main square. The children had begun to gather at a distance, watching her with a mixture of fear and fascination. They see what they want to see, but that doesn't change who you are. Varela's eyes followed the children, their small faces full of questions she could not answer. "I do not know how to be like them," she said softly. "They see me as a mistake, something to laugh at or fear. I am not wanted here." Yalin placed a hand on her shoulder, firm and grounding. "You're wanted here by me. That's a start. And one day they'll see it too. You just have to show them who you really are, not who they expect you to be." She considered his words carefully. In her world, the concept of being judged for looks rather than ability had been drilled into her since childhood. Her father, King Vorith, had been harsh, critical, and never accepting. To survive among humans, she would have to find a new strength, a way to show her worth beyond her appearance. The first opportunity came sooner than expected. While exploring the colony's energy systems, Varela noticed irregularities that the human engineers had ignored. A series of power fluctuations threatened to destabilize the colony's main energy grid. If left unchecked, it could cause blackouts, damage vital equipment, and even put lives at risk. Jalin watched as Varela knelt beside a terminal, her fingers moving in ways he could barely understand. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I am analyzing the energy patterns," she replied, her voice calm, precise. "These fluctuations are minor now, but if they continue, the colony could face a serious failure. I can correct them, but I will need access to the main grid." Yolin hesitated. Allowing an alien stranger to operate critical systems was risky. But he also knew that she had already proven her intelligence and quick thinking during their journey. "Do it," he said finally. "Just be careful." Varela nodded and worked swiftly, her alien understanding of energy systems far surpassing what the humans could comprehend. Within hours, the fluctuations were stabilized, and the colony's grid ran more efficiently than before. When the engineers discovered the changes, they were astonished. "Who did this?" one of them asked. "It was the new arrival," Yolin said, nodding toward Varela. "She knows what she's doing." Murmurs spread through the colony. Some colonists were skeptical, unwilling to trust an outsider. Others were impressed, their curiosity growing into respect. For the first time, Varela felt a small glimmer of acceptance. She had contributed something valuable, something beyond. Her appearance and the humans had noticed, yet not all was calm. Rumors of alien scouts searching for Varela had reached the colony. These scouts, loyal to forces opposed to King Vorith, could appear at any time. Yalin worked tirelessly to strengthen the colony's defenses. While Varela assisted, her alien senses detecting threats humans could not perceive. One evening, while monitoring the perimeter, Varela spoke quietly to Yolan. "I can feel them," she said. Her eyes narrowed, reflecting the twin moons above. "Something approaches, something they do not want us to see. It is small, but it is clever. We must prepare." Yolan nodded, sensing the seriousness in her tone. He had learned to trust her instincts, which were often more accurate than his own. "We'll get the colonists ready. No one will be caught off guard." The next morning, scouts reported unusual movement near the colony's outskirts. Varela was the first to recognize the threat. A group of alien predators, smaller than her own people but deadly in numbers, had begun to encircle the settlement. Humans armed themselves, unsure how to confront creatures they had never encountered. Varela stepped forward, her voice commanding, "Do not panic, stand your ground, and follow my instructions. These creatures rely on fear and confusion. If we remain organized, we can drive them back." Yolan watched in awe as she directed the humans, her alien mind perceiving patterns and weaknesses they could not see. Under her guidance, humans positioned themselves strategically, creating barriers and traps to protect the colony. When the creatures attacked, the colonists followed her plan with surprising efficiency. The battle was fierce but short. With Varela's guidance, the humans managed to repel the alien predators, suffering only minor injuries. For the first time, the colony saw her not as an outsider, but as a protector. After the battle, children who had once fled from her now approached cautiously, their fear replaced by curiosity. Are you really helping us?" one asked Varela. Knelt down, smiling softly despite the fatigue of the fight. "Yes, I only wish to keep you safe." Word of her bravery spread quickly. Even the most skeptical adults began to see her value, realizing that intelligence, courage, and quick thinking mattered more than appearances. Varela, who had once been cast aside as ugly and useless, had become essential to the colony's survival. Yalin noticed the change in her demeanor. She walked taller now, her steps more confident, her eyes brighter. "See," he said one evening, "you are more than they expected, and you are more than you thought you could be." Varela considered his words, the weight of her past rejection, and the hope of her present blending together. I never knew I could be seen this way," she admitted. "I feared humans would hate me as my own people did." "They won't all understand immediately," Yolan said. "See, your worth will follow, and in time, you may teach them what true strength looks like." Days turned into weeks, and Varela continued to prove her abilities. She helped improve the colony's agriculture by analyzing soil and water patterns, enhanced defense systems, by identifying weak points, and even mediated disputes among colonists with her calm, logical reasoning. Each success brought her closer to acceptance, and each act of courage strengthened the bond between her and Yolan. Yet danger remained. Scouts from Voreth's enemies continued to monitor the colony, and Varela knew they would strike when the humans least expected it. She began training with Yalin, learning human combat techniques while sharing her alien knowledge of strategy and perception. Together, they prepared for the inevitable confrontation, their partnership growing stronger with every challenge. One night, as they stood atop the colony's wall watching the horizon, Yalin asked, "Do you ever wonder what your father thinks?" Now Varela's eyes darkened. "He would see me as a failure. He sent me away because I was not what he desired. Yet here I am needed. I am valued. Perhaps he cannot understand that, but I do." Yolan nodded, impressed by her resilience. "You're stronger than you know. And one day, everyone here will see it too." The moons rose high, casting pale light across the colony. Varela felt a strange sense of belonging for the first time in her life. She had been cast out, judged for her appearance, and sent to humans as a gift meant to rid her father of responsibility. Yet in this harsh, alien world, she had found purpose, respect, and even friendship, and in Yalin, she had found someone who believed in her without question, someone who saw beyond the surface and valued her for who she truly was. Their bond was quiet but unbreakable, forged in shared struggle and mutual trust. Little did they know, the threat looming on the horizon was growing bolder. The alien scouts were not just observing, they were planning an attack, testing both the humans and Varela. The coming days would demand courage, strategy, and the unity of two very different species working together. But for now, as the colony settled into a rare moment of peace, Varela allowed herself to hope. She was no longer a castaway, no longer just a gift or a burden. She was a part of something larger, something worth protecting. And she had begun to find a place where she truly belonged. The story of Princess Varela among humans had only just begun, but already it promised to challenge prejudices, inspire courage, and reveal the hidden strengths within both human and alien hearts. Life in the colony had changed, yet challenges grew alongside Varela's acceptance. Though many colonists had begun to see her value, there were still whispers of doubt and fear. She had proven her intelligence and bravery, but true respect was slow to take root. Varela understood that gaining trust would take more than intellect or strategy. It required courage and action under pressure. One morning, as Yalan prepared for his daily patrol outside the colony's dome, Varela approached him, her gaze sharp and serious. "Captain, I have detected something," she said. "Something beyond the normal patrol zones?" Her voice carried urgency. It is not human, not like the previous threats. It is subtle, organized, and moving closer. Yolan frowned, studying her alien features.
Hey!
He had learned to trust her instincts, though he often still marveled at her perception. "How close?" he asked. Varela held up her hand, fingers spreading, as if visualizing the approach. "Too close to be ignored." "Within 2 cycles it may reach the perimeter," she replied. The moons above them reflected in her eyes, giving her an almost ethereal look. "We need to alert the colony and prepare defenses." Without hesitation, Yalan sounded the alert. Humans scrambled to arm themselves and reinforce barriers. Varela coordinated strategically, positioning soldiers in unexpected locations. Using her alien understanding of angles, sight lines, and the terrain, she instructed engineers to enhance sensors and communication arrays, allowing them to detect intruders before they reached the main settlement. Humans, initially hesitant to follow a young alien girl's directions, gradually moved with confidence under her command. The threat arrived at dusk. Shadows moved quickly along the rocky hills beyond the colony walls. Unlike the earlier predators, these invaders were intelligent, capable of coordinated tactics. Their bodies were sleek, armored, and dark, blending almost perfectly with the environment. A hush fell over the colony as the first scouts approached, sensing the humans' unease. Varela stood on the wall beside Yalan, her posture firm, her eyes scanning every movement. "They test us," she said softly. "They are waiting for fear. We must remain composed. Panic will cost lives." The battle began with sudden speed. The alien intruders struck in small, agile groups, attempting to outflank the human defenders. Soldiers fired their weapons, using grenades and energy shields, but the aliens adapted quickly. It became clear that traditional combat strategies alone would not win this fight. Varela acted decisively. "Divide into smaller squads," she instructed, her voice steady. "Lure them toward the traps near the eastern ridge. The cliffs will favor us if they charge blindly." Yalan moved quickly to implement her plan, issuing orders to the human soldiers. Slowly, the invaders were drawn into positions where they could be controlled and neutralized. The battle raged for hours. Varela coordinated from the walls, her alien instincts predicting each enemy move. Yalan observed, with growing admiration, as she identified weaknesses in their tactics, calling out instructions to soldiers and engineers alike. Under her guidance, humans executed maneuvers that saved many lives. She even entered the fight directly when a small group breached the outer barrier, using precise strikes to disable several enemies without harm to the humans around her. By nightfall, the invaders had retreated. Many lay injured, many escaped, but the colony had survived with minimal losses. Exhausted, Yalan turned to Varela. "You saved them," he said quietly. Again, Varela shook her head, her gaze softening. "We saved them. Together." Her words held humility, yet the humans could no longer deny her value. Whispers of awe and respect spread through the colony. What? Even those who had doubted her openly now looked at her with curiosity and cautious admiration. For the first time, Varela allowed herself a small smile. She had begun to earn more than tolerance. She had earned trust. Yet she knew this was only the beginning. The alien scouts were merely the first wave. Larger threats loomed beyond the moons, and Vorath's enemies would not stop so easily. In the days that followed, Varela continued to contribute in ways humans could not imagine. She studied the colony's plants and animals, discovering ways to improve food production and sustainability. Her calculations optimized water distribution, increased crop yield, and even reduced the colony's energy consumption. Each improvement made daily life safer and easier, slowly winning over more colonists. Children no longer ran from her in fear. Instead, they watched and asked questions, fascinated by her abilities and alien perspective. Meanwhile, Yalin began introducing Varela to humans who had unique skills: engineers, medics, and scouts. And she quickly identified ways to combine their talents with her alien knowledge. Together, they trained soldiers, strengthened defenses, and prepared for larger attacks. It became clear that Varela was not just a protector, she was a teacher, a strategist, and a leader in her own right. Despite her growing acceptance, Varela sometimes struggled with loneliness. Humans admired her contributions, but their understanding of her feelings and alien nature was limited. Late at night, she would sit beside Yalin on the colony wall, staring at the stars. "I wonder," she said softly one evening, "if I will ever truly belong. I was cast out by my father, and I was sent to humans as a gift, something to be disposed of. Can I ever be more than that?" Yalin put a hand on her shoulder. "You already are more than that. Look at everything you've done here. You're alive, you're helping people, and they are beginning to see who you are. You may not feel it yet, but you belong, Varela, and so do I." Her eyes met his, filled with a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. You think so?" she asked quietly. "I know so," Yalin said firmly. "Actions speak louder than appearances. You've proven yourself in every way that matters." The next challenge arrived unexpectedly. Scouts from Vorath's enemies had discovered a weak point in the colony's outer perimeter. A second, larger wave of invaders approached. Silently, far more organized and dangerous than the first. Yalin and Varela worked quickly, coordinating the colony's defenses and strategizing a plan that combined human ingenuity with Varela's alien perception. When the invaders arrived, Varela demonstrated the full extent of her skills. She anticipated their movements, set traps, and communicated seamlessly with humans. Soldiers moved with confidence, inspired by her calm and decisive actions. Children watched safely from within domes, learning by example the meaning of courage and discipline. Hours passed. The humans and Varela fought tirelessly, slowly gaining the upper hand. Using a combination of technology, strategy, and timing, they forced the invaders to retreat. Many were captured, many escaped, but the threat had been neutralized. The victory was decisive. The colonists celebrated, finally seeing Varela not as an alien burden, but as a hero who had risked herself to protect them. She smiled modestly, refusing personal praise. But inside, she felt something she had never known: acceptance, belonging, and respect. Yalin noticed the change in her. She moved with confidence, her eyes bright, her posture proud. "You've done it," he said quietly. "You've shown them what you're capable of." Varela shook her head. "No, we've done it. Together." That night, as the colony rested, Varela reflected on her journey. She had arrived as a gift, cast away by her own father, judged for her appearance and seen as a failure. Yet among humans, she had found purpose, trust, and friendship. Realized that the measure of her worth was not in how she looked or what her species expected of her was in her actions, her courage, and the lives she protected. Jalen sat beside her on the wall once more, gazing at the moons. "Your father sent you away thinking you were a burden. Now look at what you've done here. You've taught humans and me more than I could have imagined. You're not ugly, Varela. You're extraordinary." Her lips curved into a small smile, the first genuine one in a long time. "Perhaps," she said softly, "I am learning what it means to be seen for who I truly am." And so, the bond between human and alien grew stronger. Together, they had faced threats, saved lives, and shown that courage, intelligence, and heart mattered more than appearances. The colony had begun to see the truth. Varela was not an outsider, not a burden, but a leader, a protector, and a symbol of what could be achieved when different worlds worked together. Beyond the moons, however, danger still lingered. Enemies were regrouping, larger forces preparing to challenge both humans and Varela. The coming trials would demand even more courage, strategy, and unity. Yet, with the trust and respect she had earned, Varela was ready. And alongside Yolan, she would face whatever came, confident that together, human and alien, they could overcome anything. The story of Princess Varela among humans continued. Her journey far from over, but her strength and determination now undeniable. She was no longer just a castaway or a gift. She was a protector, a strategist, and a hero in her own right. The colony had grown stronger under Varela's guidance. Her alien mind, combined with human courage and resourcefulness, had transformed what was once a small, vulnerable settlement into a community capable of defending itself against external threats. Soldiers were trained to anticipate attacks. Engineers worked efficiently with new energy and water systems. And civilians had learned the importance of teamwork. Yet Varela knew that their survival was fragile. The alien scouts who had observed her were not ordinary enemies. They were the vanguard of a far larger force. Their goal was to capture her, leverage her alien knowledge, or destroy the humans who now accepted her. She could feel it in her senses, an instinct she had learned to trust. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the colony, Varela and Yalan stood atop the main observation tower, scanning the distant hills. "They are approaching," Varela said, her voice calm but firm, faster and larger than before. "This is not a minor incursion. They plan to overwhelm us." Yolan nodded, a sense of determination settling over him. "Then, we'll be ready. We've faced them before, and we'll face them again. Together." Varela gave a small nod, appreciating his trust. She turned to the colonists, many of whom were now familiar with her guidance. "Listen carefully," she said, her voice carrying. "Across the square, these enemies are intelligent. They will test our defenses, probe for weaknesses, and try to divide us. We must remain united. Follow my instructions exactly, and we will survive." The preparations began immediately. Barricades were reinforced, energy shields calibrated, and sensors monitored the surrounding hills. Varela coordinated squads of soldiers, directing them to positions where they could observe and respond effectively. She also trained civilians, showing them how to create simple but effective traps and signaling systems. Her alien perspective allowed her to anticipate enemy strategies humans would never consider. As the day progressed, tension built. Scouts reported movement on the hills, shadows slipping across rocks and dust rising from the distant slopes. The alien forces appeared. It was clear they had brought reinforcements larger, more organized, and more dangerous than ever before. Their numbers alone were enough to intimidate most humans, yet Varela remained composed, analyzing their formation and patterns. "Divide into 3 groups," she instructed, her voice precise. "One group will engage directly, drawing their attention. Another will flank them from the hills. The third will secure the civilians and prevent breaches. Timing is critical. Do not act too early, do not act too late." Yalan followed her instructions, impressed by her calm authority. The humans moved efficiently under her guidance, their fear replaced by purpose. Even those who had once doubted her now acted with confidence, trusting her instincts and strategy. The battle began at dusk. The alien forces attacked with precision, attempting to overwhelm the defenses. Yalan and his squad engaged them directly, while Varela coordinated from the observation tower, giving real-time instructions. She identified weaknesses in the enemy's approach and redirected human squads to exploit them. Despite the enemy's strength, the humans held their ground. Varella's plans were meticulous. She had studied their movements, predicting their flanking maneuvers and ambushes. When the enemy tried to breach the colony's main gate, Varella ordered a controlled counterattack that forced them back. Her knowledge of alien physiology and tactics gave humans a significant advantage, something no human alone could have achieved. Hours passed in intense combat. Dust rose into the air, gunfire echoed across the rocks, and the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the battle illuminated by energy weapons and flashing shields. Varella moved among the humans where needed, her agility and strength allowing her to fight alongside soldiers without hesitation. She protected civilians, disabled enemies, and ensured that humans remained coordinated. Finally, as night fell, the alien forces began to retreat. Many were injured, some captured, and others fled into the darkness. The humans had survived, their losses minimized by Varella's guidance and leadership. Exhausted, Yalan approached her as she stood surveying the battlefield. "You did it," he said quietly, awe in his voice. "Again, you saved them all." Varella shook her head, tired but determined. "We did it. Together." Her eyes swept across the colony, noting the humans repairing defenses and caring for the wounded. They are learning, and they are capable. In the following days, the colony celebrated the victory. Varella's contributions could no longer be ignored. Her intelligence, courage, and calm under pressure had won her respect. Children followed her with curiosity. Civilians listened to her guidance. And even the soldiers who had once doubted her abilities now sought her advice. Despite this, Varella remained humble. She continued to teach, guide, and protect, knowing that respect was earned through action, not words. She also knew that the threat of Vorif's enemies was not gone. They would return larger and more determined, seeking to exploit any weakness. One evening, as the colony rested, Yalan and Varella walked along the perimeter. "Do you ever miss your world?" Yalan asked softly. Varella considered the question, her gaze on the horizon. "Sometimes, but my world rejected me. Here I am needed. Here I can protect and guide. I have found a place where my abilities matter." She looked at him, her alien features softened by emotion. "And you have helped me understand what it means to belong." Yalan smiled, a quiet pride in his eyes. "You belong here, Varella. Not because you have to, but because you have earned it. And they see it now, too." Days passed, and the humans continued to integrate her knowledge into daily life. Food production improved, energy systems became more efficient, and defenses were stronger than ever. Varella had transformed the colony, not just through her intelligence, but through her courage and leadership. Then the inevitable happened. Scouts reported a massive alien force moving toward the colony. This time, the threat was undeniable, larger, more coordinated, and clearly intending to destroy the humans. Varella immediately began preparations, implementing lessons from previous battles. Soldiers were trained for new tactics. Engineers reinforced structures. Civilians were organized into safe zones. As the invaders approached, Varella and Yalan took positions on the main wall. The humans looked to her for guidance, their trust. Complete. "Stay calm," she instructed. "Use everything you have learned. Focus. Act together. And we will survive." The battle began with relentless force. Alien invaders struck with precision, targeting humans and defenses simultaneously. Energy blasts lit the sky, dust and debris filled the air, and the sound of combat echoed across the landscape. Varella remained calm, coordinating every move, predicting the enemy's tactics, and ensuring that humans could respond effectively at one point. A group of invaders broke through a barrier near the supply depot. Varella acted immediately, leading a counterattack to protect the humans and secure the supplies. She moved with unmatched speed and skill, disabling enemies without harming civilians. Her actions inspired the humans, giving them courage to fight harder. Hours passed, and the tide of battle slowly turned. Varella's strategies, combined with human determination, forced the invaders to retreat. Many were captured, many fled. But the colony had survived yet again. Exhausted, the humans cheered, finally seeing Varella not as an alien outsider, but as a leader, protector, and hero. Yalin approached her once more as the dust settled. "You've done it again, I see. It now, you've earned their trust completely." Varella shook her head, a small smile forming. "It is not me alone, it is all of us. Humans and alien together. That is our strength." For the first time, she allowed herself to feel truly accepted. Her journey from a castaway alien princess to a respected leader among humans had been long and difficult, but she had achieved. Humans no longer saw her as strange or ugly, they saw her as capable, courageous, and indispensable. Even with victory, Varella knew the future held more challenges. Vorith's enemies were out there, plotting, waiting, and learning. But for now, the colony was safe, strengthened by her leadership and the humans' resilience. She had proven that true worth was measured not by appearance, but by action, courage, and heart. Jalen looked at her, pride and admiration clear in his eyes. "You've changed everything, Varella. It's not just for the colony, but for everyone here. You've shown what can be achieved when different worlds work together." Varella nodded, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. "Perhaps this is what it means to be truly alive," she said softly. "To be seen, to be needed, to make a difference." As the moons rose high over the colony, casting silver light across the walls, Varella knew that her story was far from over. But she also knew that together with humans, and with Yalin at her side, they could face whatever came next. She was no longer just a castaway or a gift, she was a protector, strategist, and a symbol of hope for a new beginning and beyond. The colony hidden among the stars, the enemies watched, learning, waiting for the right moment. But Varella, strengthened by her experiences and the trust she had earned, would be ready. Together, human and alien, they would face whatever threats came, proving that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. The story of Princess Varella among humans continued, her journey of acceptance, courage, and leadership reaching new hay. The stars above the alien planet Glareth burned like cold fire, distant and unfeeling, while below them the chaos of war raged. Human Captain Yolan stood on the deck of his damaged scout ship, staring at the jagged terrain of the planet. Mission had been simple: gather intelligence and leave. Yet in mere hours, everything had gone wrong. Ambushed by alien forces far stronger than anticipated, he had barely escaped with his life before his ship was disabled and he was captured. Alien soldiers who took him were tall and elegant, with translucent skin that shimmered in shades of blue and violet. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical, yet there was an intelligence in their eyes, sharp and calculating. Jalen's hands were bound with energy restraints that burned slightly against his skin, constant reminder of his vulnerability. He was led through massive halls, carved from a shimmering crystal that pulsed with a faint light, the walls seeming almost alive. Eventually, he found himself before a throne that radiated power. The alien King Vorath sat upon it, his presence, commanding the room without a word. His long, scaled fingers rested on the armrests, and his deep, multifaceted eyes studied Yalin with an intensity that made the human's chest tighten. "You are far from home," human Vorth said, his voice smooth but cold. "And yet your actions have brought you here, willingly or not." I was just following orders," Yalin stammered. "I didn't mean to." Vorath raised a hand, silencing him. "Spare me your excuses. You have been captured. That is enough." He leaned forward slightly. "But I am not without mercy. Your life can be spared under one condition." Jalen's heart sank. Conditions from an alien king were rarely simple and rarely safe. "What condition?" he asked cautiously, trying to hide the fear in his voice. Vorith's gaze shifted slightly, and a figure stepped forward from the shadows behind him. She was small compared to the king, her posture stiff, but her presence was undeniable. Skin was pale with odd mottled patterns, her features asymmetrical in a way that immediately marked her as different from her people. She looked at Yalin with wary eyes, not anger, but curiosity. "This is my daughter," Vareth said, "Princess Varela." His tone carried a strange mixture of disdain and calculation. "She will be delivered to your species. You will take her to the human colonies and ensure her survival. In return, your life will be spared." Jalen's mind struggled to comprehend. "You want me to take your daughter to humans?" he asked, disbelief coloring his voice. "Why? She's different." Dvoreth's eyes flickered with something dangerous. "Different? Yes. My people see her as a failure, an embarrassment. That is precisely why she is suitable for you. Humans will find her strange, perhaps ugly. Yet she possesses intelligence, resilience, and the spark of life that my enemies cannot yet understand. Take her. Keep her alive. Do this, and you may leave my planet with your life intact." Jalen's stomach twisted. The thought of being responsible for someone so alien, so judged by her own people, was terrifying. He was a soldier, trained to fight, not to babysit an alien princess who had already been cast aside, and yet there was no room to refuse. "I don't have a choice," he said finally, his voice low. "No," Varath agreed. "You do not. Choose poorly, and your life ends here. Choose wisely, and perhaps both of you will survive." Varela stepped closer to Yolan, her eyes locking onto his. She did not speak, but her expression carried a silent plea, a hope that he would not abandon her. She was small, fragile in appearance, yet there was something in her gaze that hinted at strength beneath the surface. The journey back to the human colonies was tense. Yolan had to navigate the ship through asteroid fields and avoid patrols of alien forces that now knew of his mission. Varela remained quiet, observing everything, her strange eyes taking in every detail. Occasionally, she would ask a question about human customs or technology, and Yalin would answer as best he could. Surprised at her quick understanding, despite her appearance which he admitted to himself was unusual and even off-putting, he began to notice a sharpness in her mind. She could analyze situations quickly, offer suggestions for the ship's navigation, and anticipate problems before they arose. It was clear that Vorath had not sent her blindly. She was capable in ways that most humans would never expect. But humans, Yalin knew, could be cruel to what they did not understand. He braced himself for the reaction he expected when they finally arrived. The colony was smaller than Yalin remembered, nestled in the rocky terrain of a distant planet, with domed buildings that protected its inhabitants from harsh winds and radiation. Children ran in the streets, traders shouted their prices, and soldiers patrolled the perimeter. It was a familiar, comforting scene to Yalin, but the introduction of an alien princess would change everything. As they entered the main square, Varela's appearance immediately drew stares. Her skin shimmered oddly in the sunlight, her patterns and colors unlike anything humans had seen. Some gasped, some whispered, and a few children ran away in fright. The adults were less restrained, their faces twisted in judgment, suspicion, or outright disdain. Yalin felt a wave of frustration. "Ignore them," he said quietly to Varela. "They don't understand. You're safe here as long as we stick together." Varela nodded, her eyes downcast. She had grown used to rejection among her own people, and she felt the sting anew from these humans. Yet there was something in Jalen's voice that made her hold her head a little higher, a tiny spark of courage in a world that expected her to fail. The first few days were the hardest. The colonists treated her like a curiosity, keeping their distance. No one offered friendship or help, only suspicion and quiet judgment. Yalin worked tirelessly to show them that Varela was not a threat, but their fear ran deep. One evening, as they walked along the colony's outer wall, Yalin spoke softly. "You know, they may never fully accept you. But that doesn't mean you have no value. You already proved that to me on the ship. Your intelligence, your courage, it's something no one can take away." Varela looked up at him, her alien features softening. I only wanted to survive. I never thought I could matter to anyone else. You do matter, Yalin said firmly, and you will. You just have to show them, the same way you showed me, that night. As Varela studied the colony's systems and offered improvements to energy efficiency and defense protocols, Yalin realized something important. Perhaps her ugliness was irrelevant. Perhaps what truly mattered was the strength of her mind, the courage in her heart, and the spark of life that had somehow survived despite the rejection of her own species. Little did they know danger was already approaching. Alien scouts, loyal to Voreth's enemies, had tracked Varela's journey. Their intent was unclear: capture, revenge, or something worse, but Yalin knew that whatever came, he and Varela would have to face it together, as the twin moons rose. Over the colony, casting pale light across the rocky ground, Yalin felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this mission, which had begun as a desperate attempt to save his own life, would become something greater. Perhaps humans could learn from this strange, ugly alien girl just as she would learn from them. And perhaps, just perhaps, a bond could form that neither species had ever expected. For now, though, they could only prepare. The days ahead promised uncertainty, danger, and challenges that would test them both. But together, human and alien, soldier and princess, they would face whatever came, discovering strengths neither had known they possessed. And so began the story of Captain Yalin and Princess Varela. Story of survival, courage, and the unlikely beginnings of understanding between two very different worlds.